I'm Lily Madwhip, and this is my Odyssey. I'm still laying on the steps to the library. There's a cloud up in the sky that looks like a walrus. Or maybe it's a banana. I never realized how much walruses look like bananas until now, seeing a cloud that looks like both of them at the same time. I don't think they look quite the same in real life, just their outlines. Sean the librarian is looking through the windows into the dark, foresty guts of the library. He's watching in case cartoon pilgrims come charging out to kill us. I feel bad for him because librarianing is his life, and now a bunch of lost settlers have run him out. I hope the forest doesn't spread to outside the library. A shiny red car pulls up, blasting heavy metal music. The window rolls down slowly, and my brother Roger pokes his head out, drinking something I think is probably alcoholic. Even if he weren't dead, he wouldn't be old enough to drink. But I don't say anything because it's not real alcohol anyway. There's a breeze blowing. Do you know how I know? Because I can smell Roger and his booze from all the way over here on the steps. Roger looks at me laying on the library steps, burps loudly, then clears his throat.
Lily, is that you? What are you doing on the ground? Did you find your weird friend?
He looks at Sean the librarian.
Is that your weird friend? I beg your pardon?
Says Sean. I can't tell if he's offended at being called weird or my friend. This is Sean the librarian, I say. It occurs to me that I don't know Sean's last name. Maybe it actually is the librarian. Sean nods and goes back to looking in the library window.
And who's the old lady?
Roger asks, pointing with his chin. What old lady? I look around. Oh! There's an old lady with fluffy white hair and wearing a blue flowery dress sitting on a bench nearby. She's got her head down, reading a book with a library sticker on it. But at the mention of old lady, she looks up. I'm Mary, she says with a smile. I shrug. She's probably just another imaginary person I made up. Mary looks sad and goes back to reading her book.
I thought you came to get that weird kid, Amherst.
Roger disappears back into his shiny red car and reappears a moment later with a can of beer in his hand. I wonder if dead people can get drunk. Probably not in Roger's case since it requires a brain.
Now I get here, and you're lying on the ground with Sean, the loser, and Mary, the prune. What gives?
Sean and Mary both stop what they're doing momentarily to glare at Roger. I think I better get him out of here before he picks a fight with one of them. I'd hate to see Roger beating up an old woman, and I figure Sean probably knows a dozen different martial arts since he reads so much. I've got no reason to stay here anymore anyway. Ambrose isn't coming out of his new village, assuming the pigopotamus didn't kill him. I was really counting on him helping me too, so I just have to hope that Ono follows through on her part, or I'm going to be dealing with Hecate all by myself. Roger looks at me and gives his, well, shrug.
Well?
It's a long story that involves mutant colonists and imaginary monsters. Let's just get out of here. I get up, brush myself off because I'm dirty, and then run over and climb in the passenger side of the shiny red car. The floor is covered in beer cans. Some feel like they're still full. It smells really gross in here too, like maybe Roger vomited at some point. Whether he did or not, someone is about to. I roll down the window quickly to get fresh air inside. The wind in my face smells like heaven compared to in here.
Where to?
Roger shifts the car from not driving to driving and pulls away, leaving Sean the librarian and Mary the old lady I've never met before in a cloud of dust. I guess let's go see Hecate, I say. I don't really have anything else to do here. Anything I need, I can make, sort of. Ambrose was the only person I know of who's real, and he's not coming. So that just leaves me, Ono, and my surprise. I look at the library in the rearview mirror. I'm sorry you gave up on me, Ambrose.
I can only take you as far as the doorway,
Roger says. He sounds far too pleased with himself and also a little drunk. He may be just imagining he's drunk, though. There's a word for it when something is all in someone's head. Mom used to use the word a lot when I tell her that Pasha was talking to me. Psycho something. What door?
The one out of your dumbass world and into hers.
I thought this was all one place, the Veil. Of course, I don't know exactly how it all works, but I just assumed that Hecate's maze of doors was off somewhere that we could just drive to. After all, she tossed me into the void and I woke up in the nurse's station at school, so how did I get from one place to the other? I look at Roger driving the car. He's trying to act like he's all grown up, but he's still just a teenager. In fact, he'll always be a teenager now. He's like Peter Pan. I don't say that, though, because Roger would probably get pissed off. We saw a performance of Peter Pan at the high school once, and the kid who played Peter kind of looked like a girl. He sounded like a girl, too, and was named Jessica. I remember because I thought it was interesting that his parents gave him a girl's name. We don't drive for long. I'm glad because the smell of Roger burping and all the open beer cans is starting to challenge my normally strong desire to not barf. He smashes his foot on the brake pedal, tossing me forward along with the clattering of empty cans, but my seatbelt keeps me from kissing the glove box. I don't understand why it's called a glove box. It should be called an owner's manual and flashlight and ice scraper box, because that's all that's ever in it.
All right, Swerp, get out.
I look out the window. Hey, this is my school.
Wow, you're right,
Roger says. He picks his nose, checks his finger, and then crosses his eyes at me.
Get out.
I open the car door and start climbing out. Some of the empty cans stumble out ahead of me like they also can't take another moment in the car. I'm only halfway out when I feel Roger's foot on my behind and he shoves me the rest of the way. I fall on the scattered beer cans and scrape the palm of my right hand on the sidewalk. Roger cackles. I quickly get back up and pick the little bits of dirt out of my scrape and kiss the boo-boo. Roger leans across the car and slams the door shut. Aren't you coming with me? I ask him. I thought you'd want to see me get my butt kicked.
I literally just saw you get your butt kicked.
He smirks.
No, I'm going somewhere else. I can't tell you about it. It's YDNTN. You don't need to know.
I have a vision of Roger. He's sitting in a recliner chair with his feet up and several of those beer cans around him. Oh, it's our living room. I didn't recognize it with all the nasty trash all over the place. There's pizza boxes and cans and Roger and... You're going to hang out at our house with Skeeter and Dustin, I say. Skeeter and Dustin are Roger's friends, who he hasn't seen since he died. They all used to wear shirts without sleeves and play their instruments together in the garage until Dad would yell at them to stop. They weren't really good at making music, but they were extra good at making headaches. Roger doesn't say anything, but he moves his mouth around like he's trying to stir a few words in it and spit them out at me. Usually when people do that, it means whatever you said to them was right. Sometimes it means they were chewing when you asked.
You're such a Cinta Supremus.
He snarls and then drives off before I can ask him what that means. This time, I'm the one left in a great big walrus-shaped cloud of dust. Roger and his shiny red car speed off down the street, jump the sidewalk at the corner, take out the hedge of a bush, and nearly hit a black pickup truck that honks its horn at him angrily. The school is closed. All the lights are out inside, except for the one in the vice principal's office. Our vice principal this year is Mrs. Kennedy. She's not related to the guy who was president a long time ago. Apparently, Kennedy is just a really common name. Not like Madwhip. Chances are, if you meet somebody whose last name is Madwhip, they're related to me somehow. I think there's like 12 or 20 of us in the entire world. I might be counting Roger and my cousin Susie, though. They're both dead. The front door's locked. There's an intercom thingy with a button you press to talk to people inside to get in, but I don't want to push it because I'm not really supposed to be here. Mrs. Kennedy would probably just tell me to go home, And then she'd also be on the lookout for me from that point on, and it'd be even harder to get inside. I walk around in the school to see if there are any entrances. Maybe an open window or a door. Sure enough, there's a window that's partially open into one of the art rooms. They probably left it open because some of the art supplies smell really strong and can make you dizzy if you breathe them in. I heard a rumor once that one boy, Freddie something, locked himself in the art supply closet where the teacher kept paint remover and stuff, and when they got it unlocked, he'd passed out. I can't reach the window. Stupid legs. There are trash cans by the playground, so I grab one and drag it over, tipping it over to let all the trash fall out and climb on top of the bottom like a step stool. Thankfully, I'm small enough to squeeze through the opening in the window. Unthankfully, I fall in headfirst with a crash and mash a whole bunch of paper mache masks that had been drying on the floor. A smushed Godzilla face is stuck to my pants, and some of it comes off on me.
What are you doing in here?
Oh, crap. There's a giant man in blue overalls standing in the doorway to the hall. He's got a big brown beard and a pair of tinted glasses, so I can't even see his eyes. In his hands, he's holding a mop like Donatello the Ninja Turtle's bow staff. I wanted my mask. I look at the masks around me and grab one quickly. I think it's a lion, but whoever made it didn't really care if it looked like one or not. I wave the semi-lion mask at the janitor. At least I think he's a janitor. He's got a name tag on his overalls, but it just says P. Henderson. Mr. P. Henderson doesn't care about the semi-lion mask.
You don't belong here, he says. Did you come in through that window? Who are you?
His voice sounds gruff and annoyed. Me? I'm nobody. I hold the semi-lion mask over my face sheepishly. He shakes his head at me and then points with one meaty finger.
You come with me. You're in big trouble.
You have no idea. He steps back and motions with the mop for me to march out into the hallway. I start to do as he says, but just when I get within arm's reach, his arms, not mine. He's got big, long adult arms, and I got tiny 10-year-old's arms. My vision blurs and suddenly I'm inside the vice principal's office. I'm already there, even though I haven't walked there yet. Mrs. Kennedy is hovering over her desk, and Mr. Henderson, the janitor, is next to her. They've got blood on their mouths. They're both chewing, and I don't think it's gum. I see myself draped over the desk like a doll, and I'm dead, staring back at myself. My chest is all covered in red. They totally ruined my fourth favorite t-shirt! And I think some of my ribs are sticking out. There's blood and gross bits everywhere. It's so awful I want to look away, but I can't because I'm not there. I'm seeing it in my head. Why are Mrs. Kennedy and Mr. Henderson eating me? I try to scream, "Why are you eating me?" at them, but no words come out. Oh my god. I'm gonna die. I'm back in the art room, within adult arm's reach of Mr. Henderson. I feel like I've got a burp stuck in my throat, but it might be throw up. I don't want to find out which it is. Mr. Henderson is staring at me through his tinted glasses as I just stand there within adult arm's reach, carrying my semi-lion mask someone else made and probably looking like I just saw a ghost walk by. What the hell was that? Is all I can think to say in the moment. Mr. Henderson lets go of his mop with one hand and grabs me by the arm.
What's your problem, girl?
His teeth look bigger from this angle. I feel like maybe he grew another foot, too. And he was already a pretty big man. Am I doing this? Is this me messing with myself? I control this world, don't I? Let go of me! I yell, trying to pull my arm away. Mr. Henderson tightens his grip. His fingers dig into my wrist. It really hurts. Why does my imagination keep trying to kill me? With my free arm, I grab the handle of his mop. He looks down at my little hand just above where his other beefy hand is. I don't hesitate. I jab the mop handle up before he can react. He punches through the lenses of his dark-tinted glasses and pokes him right in the eye. He howls in pain and immediately pulls the mop away, but tries to throw me out into the hallway by my wrist before letting go of everything and clutching his face. There's blood running through his fingers and down his arm. His glasses fall to the floor in front of me, one side shattered.
Damn you!
He shouts. If he wasn't going to tear me to pieces with Mrs. Kennedy, the vice principal, earlier, I think now he's not even going to wait to get into her office before doing it. I don't stick around to find out if I blinded him or not. I scramble to my feet and sprint down the hall toward the nurse's office. It just happens to be in the same direction as the vice principal's office. And lo and behold, who should step out and see what the screaming is all about but Vice Principal Kennedy. She's dressed in her typical vice principal's mean business suit, and she's got her hair pinned up in a bun. I thought for sure she'd wear it down on a weekend, but I guess she's always busy, just like my mom.
What is going on out here?
She says sternly. I bet she and my mom are best friends in the real world. I swear, they're like twinsies if you could be twins with someone 10 years older than you and born to different parents. Mr. Henderson, the now one-eyed janitor, crawls out of the art room behind me, calling me that nasty word for girl doggies and shouting how I blinded him. That's not a completely true statement, though, since I only poked out one of his eyes. Unless he was blind in the other eye already. I charge at Vice Principal Kennedy!
Lillian?
Is all she has time to say before I crash headlong into her knees and send her reeling and screaming back into her office where she goes backward over her desk, the same desk that I just saw moments ago with my dead body laid on it like a one-course Lily meal. I get back up in time to see her legs sticking up from the other side of the desk dining table, and then mutter a quick, sorry, before rushing down the side of the hall to the nurse's office. God, I hope the real Mrs. Kennedy and Mr. Henderson aren't cannibals. I'm not going to be able to handle going back to school after this until I can be certain that the teachers and the administrators and other staff aren't secretly thinking about eating the students. Of course it is. Why did I think it wouldn't be? All the medicines and bandages and gauze and little cotton swabs and stethoscopes and whatnot are inside, and they're probably pretty valuable and likely to be stolen by students if the room was left open all the time. I shake the handle frantically, just in case it's not locked but is really just hard to turn. Nope, it's locked. I'm lunch meat. Down the hall, I can still hear Mr. Henderson yelling. Mrs. Kennedy has gone quiet, though, and I wonder if maybe she broke her neck falling over her desk, is just out cold, or laying there thinking about what kind of spices to add when she eats me. I drop this semi-lion mask and try the next door and the next door. A door to a classroom, then a door to a supply closet. The supply closet is unlocked, so I quickly slip through before anyone can see me go in. Inside the closet, there's a small radio playing some oldies tune. It's one I've heard before in the car. I'm not surprised, since if I had never heard it before, how would my imagination make it play now? Of course, I never listened to the lyrics, so there aren't any. Just the instruments. This must be where Mr. Henderson keeps his cleaning stuff. He was probably in here getting the mop and the bucket and such. That means he's likely to come back here. Even if he gives up on finding me, which I don't think he will, because now he's pretty intent on murdering me. There's a bunch of metal shelves loaded with stinky cleaning products. None of them are labeled, just yellow and red and brown stickers on them with no writing. I'm just a couple of rooms over from the nurse's office where I first started in all this. And if I can get back in there, I can make it back to Hecate's place. At least, that's the way Roger made it sound. The shelves are climbable, and I'm a pretty good climber, so I climb them up until I can reach the ceiling tiles. They've always seemed very light in the past. I've seen other kids move them just by throwing a basketball at the ceiling. Adults have to move them all the time to get to the wires and the air ducts and stuff. I figure I can just move a tile and climb into the ceiling and then come out in the nurse's office. And if that doesn't work, and I live to get out of this, I'll have to come up with something really desperate. Desperate like stabbing the janitor in the eye with his mop handle and then breaking the vice principal's neck. Yes, Lily, like that. You murdering fiend. I have to push with my back to get the tile out of the way. But it works, and soon I'm climbing over pipes and bundles of wires and sucking up heaps of dust and who knows what else. The inside of the ceiling is dark, but there's tons of slivers of light all over the place coming up through the cracks or places where the tiles have slipped out of their spots lately. I try to avoid those, because the last thing I want to do is fall through the ceiling and break my own neck. The only problem is knowing exactly how far to go until I'm over at the nurse's office. Once again, I get lucky. I'm trying to get my shoelace off some sort of hook when I hear Mr. Henderson's angry shouts just below me. I panic for a second, thinking he knows I'm above him in the ceiling. But it turns out he's not directly under me, for one thing. And for another, there's a door between us down below.
"I found her mask!"
he bellows. I hear Mrs. Kennedy as well. I guess she didn't break her neck.
"She must be trying to get into the nurse's office,"
she says. Her voice sounds cold, like Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians. I can totally see her skinning puppies. Or little girls named Lily.
"I've got a key back in my office."
Oh, well, that would have been handy earlier. I hear Mr. Henderson jiggling the door handle. It's now or never, Lily. I try to pry up the tile underneath me, but it's too heavy. It takes me a couple of seconds to come up with the brilliant idea to get off the tile before trying to lift it. Then it comes up easy. Sure enough, I'm looking down into the nurse's office. There's her stool with the wheels she likes to roll around on. And there's the bed for kids to sit on and get their temperature or blood pressure checked. And somewhere just out of sight are the doors to the rooms where we can lie down. That's where the doorway is. That's where I need to go. I just need to drop like half a mile down and not break both my legs. I try to lower myself down as best as I can, but my elbow slips and I give out a whoops! I don't fall, thankfully. Unthankfully, the angry one-eyed janitor out in the hallway hears my whoops and starts shouting.
"She's in there! I can hear her!"
He starts pounding on the door with his fists. Or maybe his head. I can't tell what he's pounding on the door with because I'm only on the other side of it. But it's something big and heavy. Hell, maybe he's throwing his whole body against it.
"Hurry up with those keys!"
he shouts before pressing close and whispering into the room.
"When I get my hands on you, you little... I'm gonna tear both your eyes out and feed them to you!"
I drop to the ground with a thump. Oh, I guess it wasn't half a mile. Because neither legs break, but they do give out under me and I crumple to the floor. It's okay though, because I get right back up and start fumbling through the dimly lit room in the direction of the sleep rooms. Why aren't there any windows in here? A bit of sunlight would be nice. Just as I find the knob for the door, I hear the jangling sound of keys coming from across the room behind me. Vice Principal Kennedy declares loudly, "Here it is!" followed by the sound of the lock on the door clicking. The door bursts open, angry one-eyed Henderson charging in and swiveling his head straight in my direction like a robot. I shriek and turn my own knob, pulling open the door to the even darker room with the lay-down bed for really sick kids, and dash inside as the two angry, bloodthirsty grown-ups charge towards me. I don't even stop to shut and lock the door behind me, which probably would be a smart thing to do, but if I did that, I'd have trouble seeing where the closet was, and right now, I can see it. That's all I need. Just gotta get in the closet and I'm free. I quickly throw the closet door open, remembering the last time I went in here, following Ono into the Vale. Except I'm already in the Vale, and this is me just going to another part of the same place, I guess. I don't know how it all works. I'm not even going to think on it right now, because if I did, I just get a headache. The door shuts behind me. I'm standing in a candlelit hallway, shaking. They call it adrenaline when you get all shaky from stuff scaring you. Even my toes are shaking in my shoes. I feel like I either just ran a marathon or watched the movie Poltergeist again. That's a pretty scary movie. I saw it when I was really little and got so scared I wouldn't get up at night to go to the bathroom for several weeks, and had to lay there in the dark and hold my pee in until morning each time. Sometimes I failed. I just about failed again just a moment ago, and I didn't even really need to pee. The door behind me is set into the wall with the hall going in either direction away from it. It's not like my first time with the tunnel and the door being at the end. I don't recognize the specific location I'm in, but the hallway definitely looks like the maze one Hecate lives in. I breathe a sigh of relief and wait a moment for my trembling to stop. Finding my way into the maze is just half of the trip. The other half is finding my way through the maze. I wonder if I could just take one of these doors and be home again? Back in the real world, out of the Vale, away from all these horrors. Maybe I'll try just one.
Hey there kids, it's me, Mrcreepypasta, and thank you so much for listening to tonight's story, whether it be an episode of something, or tonight's podcast, or tonight's YouTube. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I strongly encourage you to click subscribe so that you're able to get all of the updates for the YouTube series that currently go on. And if you're not on YouTube and you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening on Spotify, or on Google, or on iTunes, or wherever you happen to be listening from. And a very big thank you to all of my Patreons, and you can always join them at patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. People like Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Ken Lando Higuchi, Brianna Van Tine-Janzen, Chompski, TheRedOakShieldVirus, Sindee Barney, G Weevil 3, Diana Kraus, Stephen VanHuss, Chance Burnett, Tristain Pelton, Nico, TheGingerBroz, Dante Rowe, Raphael Rodriguez, Lastbladesong, Eliminator 86, Nebsky, SteampunkSinner, Kaleb Dougal, Daniel Poulsen, Sky Harbor, The Homeless Bird 93, Bobby Carmen, Liam Newman, Aaron Stormcrow, Barbara Macedo, Thomas Burgett, Azazel Rotten, Let's Get Scared, S-Man, Andrew Kirisuba Warnock, Bad Honey, Creepypasta Adam, Someone You Love, Brennan Wright, Said the King 56, and Somber Puppet. Thank you guys so much for your continued support, to all of you on Patreon, you guys that are down there in the description, and everyone else. And thank you all for listening and watching and being subscribed. Sweet dreams.